Please welcome Lane Beattie, Greg Bell, Dave Doty, and Rich Kendell.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're delighted to be here with you today. Utah is a can-do state. It always has been. Our forefathers took this place and made the desert bloom as a rose. They invented irrigation to make this a viable place to live, a beautiful place. Recently, we put on the best Winter Olympics in history. We built freeways, dams, infrastructure second to none, an international airport, tracks, front runner. We have the best performing economy in America, the most diversified economy in America. We're known as the best managed state. The governor has brought every single group related to education to a point of understanding and adopting this goal that we need by the year 2020, 66% of our working age population to have some advanced degree or a certificate enabling them to function in our new economy. We have always met the challenge. We now face one of our biggest, and that is whether we will maintain a world-class educational system, which is the same question as saying, will we maintain a world-class economy? Because of our culture, our industry, our volunteerism, our community, the strength of our families and neighborhoods, we have met every challenge. Let us now come together. Let's hear Prosperity 2020 5-year plan they're offering to start to implement the governor's 10-year goal. Now you're going to hear what that plan is.
I'm very pleased today to be here.
You got a copy of the plan?
Acknowledge this report, and it has been sponsored primarily by the business community. That you will find that has been listed, and you'll get copies of that later. We've collaborated with many parties and consulted with dozens of stakeholders, not only across the state, but from wherever that information could be obtained. But in the final analysis, this is a plan that has been developed and endorsed by the business community already. This report makes a strong case for achieving the goal of having 66% of Utah's adults obtain a post-secondary credential. Do we really need, and I guess as we ask this question to this delightful classroom that I have here today, it seems as if few are still coming back from UEA. We're delighted that a few came. But we need to ask some questions about this plan, questions that I think will help, answer some of your questions. Do we really need this many college-trained people in the state of Utah? I can only think that the public would really like to know. So let me go to our beloved students here and ask that question.
Well, in a word, yes, we do. As Natalie was speaking a few minutes ago, we have a fantastic population of young people in this state, and it's growing rapidly. But whether those young people, as they move into adulthood, become our greatest asset or become a drag on our economy will depend on the level of education and skill that they obtain.
You know, one of the bits of research that we included in our study is from Rebecca Diamond, an economist at Stanford University, and she's been following communities for 25 years. And her conclusions are our whole nation's getting divided up into economic powerhouses and then also-rans. The economic powerhouses are places like the Silicon Valley and Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Seattle. We want to be an economic powerhouse. Why? Because it's good for kids and their careers, it's good for families, and it's good for Utah. So we're at a critical juncture. Are we going to move into that status of an economic powerhouse, or are we going to be an also-ran?
Well, I hear that comment, but the truth is I open up almost every national paper that I've seen, and Utah's already number one. accolades come in from everybody we have. Just this week, we had a Chamber of Commerce from Nashville, Tennessee, coming here to bring 120 people in April to be able to show what Utah is doing that's great already. So I guess the question really is why are you expressing such concerns today, and why is the business community so concerned?
You know, Utah shows so much promise. I'm proud to be a Utahn. I'm proud to be a part of this community and to be part of the educational community. But I think we do have to, at the same time, while we praise what we have accomplished, we also have to be realistic about where we are. Let me just give you an illustration. The National Science Foundation every year publishes the top 30 states and regions for the proportion of STEM workers. Not a single Utah city is on that list, not one. And we would like to do that. We think that would be good for Utah. Let me give you another illustration about our workforce. The governor published his report, the top 20 employers in Utah. Of the top 20, 15 are government or education. There are only 4 private companies in Utah that fall into the top 20 employers: Walmart, Food King, Zions Bank, and L3 Communications. By contrast, look at Seattle. Boeing, 70,000 workers. Microsoft, 40,000 workers. Starbucks, 40,000 workers. Amazon, it's the same story. We need private sector development, and talent draws talent. We have to produce the talent, and we have to be like a magnet and draw that talent. And I think that's where we are. We're at that juncture. Where are we going to fall?
So if education is really the key to the future and key to the workforce and really to the economy of the future for our families, where do we currently stand right now?
Well, there are clearly some great bright spots, and we should be proud of the things that we do well. As Governor Herbert mentioned, for example, we have fantastic teachers, great principals, great superintendents, great educators throughout the state. Utah is among the top 10 states in the country for AP, advanced placement participation, and pass rates. Utah is the top state among the 12 states that require all 11th grade students to take the ACT. And some of our individual schools, Governor Herbert talked about the SAGE tests. I looked at those yesterday. Some of our schools are doing fantastic on those early assessments, such as the early college high schools that Rich had a hand in creating a few years ago. Yet on average, we're pretty average on our overall academic performance. No one really is pointing at Utah and saying, let's do what they do. In fact, many on the outside of Utah notice our somewhat subpar performance, and we should pay attention from an economic development standpoint to how others see us. A couple of these rankings have already been mentioned today. CNBC this year put out a ranking, the America's top states for business. Utah was ranked 3rd for business, but 46th for our education system. The U.S. Chamber's Leaders and Laggards report gave Utah a C for overall K-12 academic achievement. And as Natalie Gochner talked about earlier, we should be concerned about taking care of the less fortunate because we received a D for minority student achievement. And Education Week's annual Quality Counts report in 2014 gave Utah a D+ for academic achievement.
Well, you know, if that's true, and we continue from time to time, and literally in the last 30 years that I know of here to have all kinds of blue ribbon task forces, we get new results, new tests. I guess the bottom line from a business standpoint is, where do we go from here? What do we do?
Well, that's a very good question. And I want to make just one comment for those of you who have read Jim Collins' great book, Good to Great. We don't want good to be the enemy of great. We have a good state, we have a good education system, but we want and we need a great education system. So we need a plan, we need a direction, we need goals, we need strategies, and we need outcomes. Now, I think everybody that runs a business here knows you have to have a good plan if you're going to be successful. Now, for whatever reasons, and this is not a critique, I'm not trying to point fingers, Utah has no plan for education. We've tried, but we have no plan. We have enormous growth, but we have no plan. We have huge needs for the disadvantaged community, but we have no plan. So, thanks to you and a number of others, the business community said, we'll take the initiative, we'll put a plan on the table. It's not the end all, it's not the be all. It's got to be leveraged, and I salute Governor Herbert for saying there are so many good things that we can do, and I don't want this to be a 5-year effort, I want it to be a 10-year effort. But we can do better, and this is a call to action. We need a plan, we need very high standards, we need accurate assessments, and we need higher performance all the way around. And if we do, we will not be a good state, and we will not be a good average education system. We will be great, and that's where we want to go.
You know, again, boy, does that sound nice. We're there. We can just leave here today knowing that the future is bright based on the opportunities that we may be able to do something in the future, or we maybe have a better plan. But I've been exposed way too much to Gary Herbert. And I've never known that he has ever been willing to accept the future statement that things will be better tomorrow without him saying, I want a plan. I want to know where we're going. We continue to say at the chamber in virtually every opportunity that we have, I want to know what the deliverables are. So be more specific with me. Tell me if we're going to do better, be specific.
Great.
Well, we'd love to talk about that.
Dave.
Our firm, Education Direction, we do school improvement work all over the country, and I will tell you that the best performing systems are doing what is in this report and in this plan. For example, the best systems are relentless in pursuing literacy and reading proficiency by the end of the 3rd grade. Currently, Utah is only 22nd on the 4th grade National Assessment of Educational Progress, as has been mentioned. The best systems also employ strategies to ensure math proficiency, which is a big part of college readiness, and STEM achievement, as we've talked about, by the end of the 8th grade. But unfortunately, Utah currently ranks 27th on the 8th grade NAEP math test. So the best systems are addressing those issues, and they're employing the strategies that work to get to those outcomes. And that's what's in this plan.
I think you can just nail it down to 4 or 5 key metrics. We want every young person in this state to be reading by the end of the 3rd grade at a high level of proficiency in math, and you've got to follow these students all the way through, and we want among the best graduation rates in the state of Utah. Any young person that falls out of high school without a degree is headed for poverty and dependency, and we've got to be at the top of that list. So the best practices, there's no gimmicks, there's no silver bullets, it's just good, solid education, and the best school systems in the country are doing what's exactly in this report.
You know, Lane, I might mention that there are states who have done this and who are doing it well. Massachusetts, for example, 20 years ago, implemented the Massachusetts Education Reform Act as a result of poor performance and poor funding and business concern over the educational outcomes in that state. They have now funded and implemented a plan, a very specific plan tied to specific standards and assessments and funding for over 20 years now. And the results have just absolutely been phenomenal. In fact, Massachusetts students not only have led the nation on the NAEP test in both math and reading for 5 years in a row, but as Steve Cruz mentioned, they are at the top of the world on the PISA exam. This past year, or in 2012, Massachusetts 15-year-olds beat all but 3 educational systems in the world on reading. The only ones that beat them were Hong Kong and Shanghai and Singapore. So this can be done. It takes sustained effort, and it takes commitment, and it takes investment over a long period of time.
Well, you hear those things, and I just have to say that I've never known Utah not be willing to stand behind anybody. Utah has always been willing to step in front of everyone as far as their children are concerned. And it seems like if that's the case, we can be that specific. We have a plan. If we can get the support, then the results have to be able to just follow. Now, that being said, I'm just grateful to know that, my kids have graduated from college now. I guess all we need to do is really just worry about public education, but I just have to ask the question, what about higher education? Is something actually going to be done in higher education?
Well, I've had the good fortune of spending half my career in public education and half my career in higher education, and so I'd like to make just a couple of comments about higher education. Part of this is not necessarily higher education, but it has to do with the state of Utah. And it is this simple fact. Every young person in this state must get some form of post-secondary education. They can get quality training and programs in career and technical education from UCAT. They're terrific. They can also go to a local college or university. But every young person needs something beyond high school if they're going to be a self-sustaining adult. So that's something that we just have to do. We need more graduates. We need more graduates out of UCAT. We need more graduates out of the Utah system of higher education. Talent is the business, and we've got to have more talent if we're going to be a robust economy. Now I'm going to mention two other things. One, we have too many students that start higher education and drop out for a variety of reasons. It's money, it's marriage, it's obligations, it's whatever it is. The Lumina Foundation did a study of all of the states, and they ranked the top 10 regions that had the highest percentage of students with some education but no degree. Now, 7/8 of a degree will not get you a teaching certificate. It will not allow you to sit for the CPA. So of the top 10 cities, regions with the highest number of students who have some college but no degree, here they are. Number 1, Provo, Orem. Number 2, Ogden, Clearfield. And number 3, Salt Lake. So of the top 10 regions in the whole country with the highest proportion of students who don't finish college, 3 of them are in Utah. So we can do better. Now, one more thing real quickly. Boy, are we out of time. A lot of our students can't make it because of money. It's a huge factor. Now, I compliment Weber State University for their Dream Utah program. Alan Hall and Milner sitting here in front of me, because it's a partnership of the public and the private sector. But their promise to every young person that will maintain attendance, maintain good grades, they will guarantee them financial help to finish. It's a fabulous program. We need it for the state. Every young disadvantaged student in this state needs to say, I come from a poor family, but I can finish school, I can go to college, and I can live the American dream. That's what it's all about.
You know, just very quickly, it's the nation has reached out and identified Governor Herbert to lead the National Governors Association. To a lot of you, you might be surprised to know that the legislative leaders of the entire country have reached out to Senator Kurt Bramble to lead NCSL, the National Conference of State Legislators. Why? Because they seem to have answers. We are reaching out today. Is this the same old stuff that we've been putting forward for years and we're not going to see any change?
I think we are going to see some change. I think we've got some very clear goals. We have excellent strategies. We need support. Let me just give you one illustration. I love the presentation by the person who talked about technology. Fabulous. That's not going to work unless our teachers have the training that they need. They've got to have professional development. Now, for whatever reasons, and again, we're not here to point fingers, that's not the point, but we used to have $80 million in the state budget for staff development and teacher training. We today have 0. So teachers need help. Teachers want to be successful. They want their students to be successful. They want to use this new technology, but they've got to have training if they're going to be successful with it. So we have clear goals, good strategies, predicted outcomes and a commitment from the education community that if we will support them, they will deliver the goods. So we're all for it.
It sounds like one thing has happened here today. The bottom line is that we are here for one reason, to get results. Thank you all very much.
Thanks. Thanks.